Here's your wrestling news for November 14th, 2020. And your headlines for today include: real reasons why Zelina Vega was released, WWE and AEW wrestlers strongly react, Vince McMahon gets a warning, Aleister Black reached out to WWE post-Vega's release and made a request, unfortunate news for Chelsea Green after her impressive SmackDown debut, did WWE do the right thing by calling Drew McIntyre to SmackDown? WWE attempting a fresh start with Otis. WWE is using cheap tactics to re-sign released superstars. WWE officially signs top indie star to contract, a major update on Sonya Deville, and more. We are kicking off today with some truly huge news as Zelina Vega has been released from WWE. In a short statement, WWE wished her all the best in her future endeavors, and though her departure comes from out of the blue, we may know why it happened. Vega is believed to be one of the superstars who spoke to Andrew Yang, the former presidential candidate who promised to look into WWE's treatment of superstars if Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election. Yesterday, Vega tweeted out that she supports unionization, and less than 15 minutes later, WWE confirmed she was gone from the company. The fact that she was cut so quickly after this tweet has made many feel she was fired because of her views, and Dave Meltzer commented on the situation saying, "Zelina Vega let go for supporting unionization tells me Vince wants to pick a very interesting fight. We'll see if he gets his wish." Vega also recently started an OnlyFans page despite WWE's rule against third-party deals, where at one point she charged $100 for a single photo, and Meltzer noted he believes this account was part of the reason she was fired. WWE's new rule has been wildly unpopular and created messy conflict with the superstars, as the company has cracked down on talent streaming on Twitch with a series of new rules. Vega has now broken her silence about her release. In a statement on Twitter where she thanked everyone who's helped her over the past few years and referenced dedicating her career to her father, who died when she was 10 on 9/11. After seeing news of Vega's release, Andrew Yang said he hasn't forgotten about Vince McMahon after criticizing the company for their labor practices and has promised to improve working conditions under a new administration, even if he doesn't become Secretary of Labor. Fans have weighed in on the matter, and her release was reportedly a talking point backstage at last night's SmackDown, with one superstar saying that if anyone was going to stand their ground against WWE's new rules, it'd be Vega. AEW stars have also weighed in, with one saying that WWE has, quote, lost their mind by releasing her, so she may soon be all elite. Impact Wrestling has also thrown their hat in, and one anonymous star said they would push for her to return to the company, especially given that Impact is set to reintroduce the Knockouts Tag Team titles. Aleister Black, Vega's husband, is unsurprisingly unhappy as well, as he's already asked for a change of location. According to WrestleVotes, there's dissension between WWE and everyone involved in the Zelina Vega situation. They wrote, "There's a bit more behind the scenes to the Zelina Vega release. Frustration from both sides is an understatement. While it can't be directly tied to today's news, Aleister Black recently requested to move back to NXT and was denied. Dissension amongst the parties involved. Odds are that there will be a lot more to this story coming out, especially since Zelina is starting her Twitch stream back up." Speaking of Twitch, WWE is trying to establish themselves as a company on the site rather than their employees work as individuals there, and that means hiring somebody new. In their job posting, WWE is looking for a GFC motion designer for Twitch to work within WWE's Advanced Media Group to build the company's presence online. That may be easier said than done given the ongoing fan backlash against how superstars are being treated, and we doubt Vega's sudden release will help the promotion win over fans. Inside the WWE, people aren't happy either, as Paige saw the news and shared a "this sucks" with a sad emoji to express her feelings. Former WWE star Ryback had a much more profane response saying he supports Zelina and added the hashtag WWE. Now, Vega is subject to a 90-day non-compete clause, which means she won't be able to appear on TV until February 2021, which is conveniently just in time for AEW's next pay-per-view, Revolution, which will take place on February 27th. Whether Vega goes to AEW, joins Impact's Knockouts division, or just forges her own path on sites like Twitch and OnlyFans is unclear, but what we do know is that her time with WWE is over, and it seems that it's over because all she wanted was superstars to be treated that bit better. One person fans can continue to see is Drew McIntyre, who appeared on SmackDown this week in a bizarre move. Though WWE promotes Survivor Series as the only night that red and blue superstars collide, that simply isn't the case, as Drew faced Jey Uso, and WWE are still having superstars appear on the other brands. To us, this only weakens the whole Raw vs. SmackDown dynamic WWE is pushing with Survivor Series, though we did enjoy the confrontation between McIntyre and Universal Champion Roman Reigns, especially as these two could be facing off at Survivor Series if the Scotsman wins next week's WWE title match with Randy Orton. Instead of the Tribal Chief, McIntyre faced Jey Uso, again ignoring the notion of Survivor Series being the one night of the year fans can see Raw and SmackDown superstars face in the ring. Despite this, McIntyre had Adam Pearce make the match official, and though it was a fine match which saw the former WWE Champion get the win, it's still strange that it happened in the first place. SmackDown also saw the Blue Brand debut of Chelsea Green, who competed against Liv Morgan, Natalya, and Tamina Snuka for a spot on SmackDown's Women's Survivor Series team. Though Green's performance had all the makings of a big win for the debuting talent, that didn't happen as Morgan got the win, and now we know why. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, Green was injured early on in the match, which resulted in the finish being changed to Morgan winning instead. Fightful described the entire situation as hectic, as it was reported she'd suffered a broken left wrist, and on Instagram, Green added that she'd suffered a broken arm, but said it's nothing she hasn't dealt with before and that she'll be back before fans know it. Being called up to the main roster in May, the Canadian superstar had waited patiently for her debut, and given that this injury couldn't have happened at a worst possible time, we're sending our best wishes to Chelsea for a speedy recovery. Speaking of SmackDown, WWE decided to have the climax of their Seth Rollins vs. Rey Mysterio feud this week, which saw Mysterio defeat his nemesis on the 15-year anniversary of the death of Eddie Guerrero. In a touching tribute, Rey got the win with the Frog Splash, and though their feud ended abruptly, there were some post-match antics. After the bell, Mysterio called Murphy to the ring and gave the Australian his blessing to date Aaliyah, and now Murphy has turned on his former tag team partner. This was an abrupt and unexpected ending to this storyline, but with ongoing rumors of Rollins taking time off as Becky Lynch is expected to give birth next month, we can understand why things went this way. Whilst Rollins may be leaving TV for the time being, it looks like Otis is starting over, as the former Mr. Money in the Bank debuted new music and slightly new gear ahead of his match with Dolph Ziggler. Despite attempted interference by Robert Roode, Otis got the win with a second rope Vader bomb, as it seems Vince McMahon hasn't given up on him completely. In fact, the People's Court segment with Otis from a couple of weeks ago was said to have gotten significantly more attention from McMahon, despite rumors of the boss souring on him. With this win, Otis is doing far better than Tucker, who continues to lose on Raw and WWE Main Event in recent weeks. After the SmackDown commercial break, Chad Gable told Otis that what he did to Ziggler is something he can do to everyone if he got some discipline, and if there's anyone who knows about being disciplined, it's the former Olympian. Flashing an evil smile as Otis accepted and walked off, it looks like we could be on the cusp of an Otis-Gable alliance, though whether this leads to anything for the two men who have had nothing for a while remains to be seen. Now, Survivor Series 2020 is being sold as the final farewell of The Undertaker, but fans know that this isn't the first time the dead man's career has apparently ended. While speaking to The Wrap, the Phenom was asked if he's officially retired after his declaration at the end of the Last Ride docuseries, and though Undertaker said he's sticking by what he said, he knows that he works for Vince McMahon, whose motto is never say never. With the dead man in a 15-year contract with WWE, there's plenty of time for McMahon to change his mind, but until then, The Undertaker is considering himself truly retired this time. We are looking back at the summer of 2020 as Sonya Deville fortunately escaped an attempted kidnapping by an obsessed fan who has continued to torment her, including having his mail forwarded to her home. Now though, Fox 13 Tampa Bay reports that during a hearing yesterday, Deville's temporary protection injunction against Philip A. Thomas is now extended indefinitely until his criminal trial is over. Thomas is set to appear in court this December on charges of aggravated stalking, armed burglary of a dwelling, attempted armed kidnapping, and criminal mischief, and hopefully Sonya will finally get justice after such a terrible ordeal. AEW news next as Hurricane Ada caused serious issues with this week's edition of Dynamite. Not only did the company draw their lowest attendance to date since bringing back fans, but Tony Khan noted that they had to use leaf blowers to dry off the ring as rain was coming in. Khan noted that the rain was pouring sideways into Daly's place, but that's the risk of setting up in an outdoor amphitheater. In need of a non-slippery surface, Khan made the call for the pre-show red carpet to be cut up and stuck around the ring, giving the wrestlers some much-needed extra grip, and while there were plenty of problems thanks to the hurricane, Tony Khan and his crew seemed to have a knack for improvising. One person who certainly enjoyed this week's Dynamite is Jade Cargill, who promised Shaq will soon be joining her in Daly's place, but this may have never happened if 2019 had gone differently. It turns out that last year Cargill had a WWE tryout but wasn't signed to a deal despite a background in both basketball for the University of Jacksonville and modeling. WWE's loss has been AEW's gain though, as Cargill has become one of the company's most discussed stars over the past week, and although we'll have to see what happens next for Cargill and AEW, WWE blew their chances with her. Back to the ring now, and WWE has added another talented name to its roster. The Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting that Alex Zane has signed with WWE after wrapping up his indie dates and informing people he wasn't taking any more bookings. It's worth noting that part of the reason for Zane's signing was because of how few indie bookings he can take at the moment thanks to the ongoing global situation, and we'll have to see how his career goes now in Vince McMahon's promotion. And we're ending today with WWE, as the company released a ton of talent on April 15th, and though some have found new homes, WWE are trying to coax others back. According to The Observer, WWE did reach out to several of the people they let go, but they were offered much less money than they were making before, and these low offers were presumably for both superstars and staff. The company recently recorded record profits thanks to their several cost-cutting measures and their TV deals, and whilst the company has reportedly shown interest in bringing some names back such as No Way Jose, it seems they're not prepared to give those names the money they were once making.